Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are, welcome. We are so glad you're here. If you're wondering where here is, this is She Leads AI, and what we're doing today is we're previewing some of our speakers who are going to be at our conference October 11th through 14th in Salt Lake City. So you'll get a little glimpse today of the experts who will be sharing their wisdom and knowledge with us in October. My name is Ann Murphy. I'm the founder of She Leads AI and Empowered Fundraiser Consulting, and I'm super happy that you're here. If you are rolling into the chat, feel free to let us know you're here, where you're tuning in from, any burning AI questions you might have. If you're watching on the replay, don't hesitate to leave comments as well. We go back and check, and if you have any questions, we'll get back to you with an answer or somebody else to talk to. I want to share a little bit about what She Leads AI is before we dive in. She Leads AI is an umbrella brand our mission is to unite accomplished women to advance AI for global prosperity. In our mission to do that, we show up in a couple of different ways. One is our AI Academy, which is for are we good on sound? We're good on sound, you guys? Okay. One is our AI Academy, which is external facing AI education for women. This is everything from our monthly Foundations for Beginners workshop to our certified AI educator program, to external facing offerings like our on-demand course by Tara Bonhorst, our soon to be launched spotlight series on specific tools or specific workflows, and much more to come through our executive director, Michelle Muncie Silva. We also have our generative AI consulting agency, which is populated by and which is soon to come. Will launch pretty soon. Our lead consultants represent a breadth of industries, oftentimes 20 and 30 years of subject matter expertise layered on with AI so that we now all have superpowers. And we're here to help people integrate AI responsibly into their organizations or their own personal lives. Excuse me, let me take a sip of coffee. We also have our She Leads AI community called the Society. And in there, we do peer-led learning. We have a book club called She Leads Reads. We have a 24/7 online forum with channels like Get Unstuck, so that you kind of have a help desk with the other members there. And we also the society is host to Social Saturdays. So some of you might know this is an opportunity for women in AI writ large to come together on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to noon Pacific time. And we talk about specific subjects in each weekend, but there's also room for us to meander a little bit for ideas and concerns and questions that people bring into the meeting. We also do a ton of gathering. We really value the time that we get to spend together in a variety of formats. We have our live series like this. We have our quarterly She Leads AI Forum, which is a collaboration with the Empowered by AI podcast. And we have big events like our conference, the Create Conference, and AI Festivus in partnership with the AI Salon. So there's a lot of different ways to plug in, whether you are a woman in AI or you are a potential sponsor, partner, collaborator with us, whether you're looking for education or you're looking for people to come into your organization and help implement AI with people, process, and culture at the center. So we welcome you to check in with us, and my DMs are always open. Okay, That's a lot. Today, we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about our relationship with AI in the before times, now, and what that might look like in the future. We're going to take a look at a couple of trends, what our experts here are seeing in their subject matter expertise, what's happening with AI that where people might be missing opportunities. We're going to look at some of those things too. We're going to talk about collaborations and we're going to give you some actionable takeaways. And of course, we have to talk about GPT-5 because that's, I think, a law right now is that for the next few weeks, everyone in the AI bubble must have a hot take on GPT-5. So I'm going to bring my colleagues up and they're going to introduce themselves, and we are here for a great conversation today. Rachel Zipsie, come on down. And McCrackin, here we are. Thank you so much, you two, for being here. I'm excited about our conversation. The best part of doing these live series is that I get to hang out with my friends. So why don't we start with that question? Tell us about your relationship with AI. And while you're doing that, weave in an introduction of who you are, what you're about, where you're tuning in from. Rachel.
Well, good afternoon out here east, and good morning out to the. My name is Rachel Zipsie, and I'm a transformation coach, and I'm actually in Michigan. I was born and raised in the Midwest, and my before times of AI meant when I was 13 years old, playing with a Commodore 64 and trying to use technology to implementing technology systems all the way my entire career. So I really look forward to this opportunity. I got involved in AI very, very early upon the release of ChatGPT as I was launching a number of businesses, doing some consulting. And we had so few resources that I started researching and spending more and more time finding ways to integrate it in my business so that we could launch multiple lines. Today, I've now fast tracked into using more of as obtaining clarity and spending less time and using it in a very focused way with my clients, helping them really lead with authenticity, clarity, focus on what it is that they're creating, how it is that they want to create it. Because how you create today and how you created when I started 20 years ago, when either building the technology or connecting the technology into your operations is vastly different. And there's so many steps and new things to consider, such as the speed and things like that, that really need to take some time to be thought out and be very, very, very clear in this transformation of yourself using a tool, but also your peers, your teams, and then your organization and what impact it has. So I take a people first approach on how's this technology impacting us? What do we want it to do?
Tell us a moment that surprised you or made you feel like, yeah, AI and I are good. We're going to be partners.
My first query with Manus changed everything. It changed everything. That wasn't the first one, but that was the largest one.
Yeah.
So I had to bring that up because that changed everything. Having this operation back, it changed everything. However, I would say for my clients, and when we started working together, it was very simple, just learning that GPT and just very small things. I can do that. Oh my gosh. But it's a cycle of oh wow and pause.
Yes.
That we've really had to identify. The oh wows will get you every time. So much sunken cost in the oh wows. So it's really focus has been the key learning from the oh wow moments.
Yeah, absolutely. The oh wow moments make you want to go over here and go over there and go over there. And that thing that you do so well, Rachel, of helping us pause and also like know where we are in this whole ecosystem. How are we showing up? How are we aligned with AI? Not only like morally and ethically, but how does our body feel? Are we breathing? Do we have both feet on the ground?
Yes, all of it.
And did we drink enough coffee? That's most important.
Usually the first question I ask.
All right, Anne McCrackin, let's hear about you, your relationship with AI, and yeah, your background as well.
Sure. Thanks, Ann. So I'm Anne McCrackin. I'm a patent attorney. I'm also an adjunct law professor at University of New Hampshire, Franklin Pierce School of Law. And I founded a company called AI Enabled Attorney. So I focus on helping attorneys and legal staff adopt AI in a way that really fits how they work and what actually happens in a law firm. And I do that through both large group trainings and consulting for law firms and corporate legal departments. My relationship with AI started back in the mid 90s when I was in graduate school. I was in computer engineering and I developed a neural network program to analyze mining data from a gold mine in Montana. This was real world data that graduate students in the geology department were painfully analyzing by hand. And I developed a neural network that would analyze it and look for the correlations that they were looking for. At the time, AI wasn't very interesting to many people. Back in the mid 90s, it was largely something in the academic world. It wasn't really anything businesses were looking at or investors were looking at, nothing like today. But that's where it started for me. And then around 2011, I co-founded a company that developed AI tools, more traditional AI solutions to automate back office administrative processes in intellectual property law firms. And I grew and led that company for over a decade. So worked very, very closely with that. But generative AI, really, my relationship with generative AI started in 2023, right after ChatGPT really hit the scene. And that was because I'm a professor and I wanted to know what my students might be doing with it. And I decided that the best way to know was I had to be using it myself and I had to know the capabilities and the limitations. And so I really got into it, just using it myself to explore, and it's just grown just exponentially since then. Um, that's now turned into a passion and a business for me. I teach my students about it. I want them. There's a lot of debate today about AI in education, but where I come down on that is I want my students to be AI ready when they graduate and they go into law firms, and I want them to be leaders in law firms. And so I bring it into my classes at the point that it's appropriate. And I spend a lot of time thinking about when and how to do that. And then at the same time, I'm also out helping law firms with their adoption. So that's kind of my story and my relationship and how that's evolved with AI.
One of the things that jumped off the page for me with you, Anne, in the early days, like, however, several months ago, was that you were one of the few people who I heard clearly articulate how to bring AI into the classroom in a way that was comfortable for you, the system, so to speak, and your students at a time when most educators that I know and the ones that I, read read about their consternation, they were like all kind of just prevaricating about the different directions you could go, and you just did it,
Yeah.
right? And I know that you've had the chance to live, with those policies for a little while now, and I wondered if you could share how have your initial instincts on how to manage AI with your students. Have you had to tweak those over time, or has it standing the test of time?
the core idea is standing the test of time, but I'm bringing AI in more and more and more. But the core idea is my students have to learn the fundamentals first before I introduce AI. And then when they know the fundamentals, they're in a position where they can evaluate the quality of what the AI is doing. Otherwise, you're going to have a disaster if you have somebody who just jumps in and starts using an AI tool, but they don't understand what good looks like. They don't know how to evaluate
Yes.
quality. So my approach has been to take a kind of tiered, to have sort of a tiered AI usage policy where initially they're not allowed to use AI at all for about the first 6 weeks of the course while they're mastering the basics. And then I have a vendor who's given us access to an AI tool. They give all the students access. I train the students on how to use it, and then they're allowed to use it for the remainder of the semester for certain tasks. And I'm very clear about what that is, so that it's gradual. But
Yeah.
I absolutely insist they have to know the fundamentals first. And then I want to expose them to and give them opportunities to see how to use the AI tools. And I want them to make their mistakes here, not in not in practice, not on work for a client. So I absolutely want to facilitate
Yes.
that environment where they can do that. And I had a student this past spring who did some things that appeared to be done with AI that were in violation of my AI usage policy. But, the
Mhm.
work was really, he didn't do it very well. The work was really poor. And I just had a conversation with him about it. And, his score was very poor because he didn't check his work and the AI made mistakes. And as a
Oh.
result, he turned in something that wasn't his usual work quality. But I was so glad he did that with me as opposed to for a client next
Yes.
year after he graduates and he starts his first job. And that would be horrible for him, for his
Yes.
firm, for his client to make that kind of mistake. And I chose
Yeah.
to, I don't want to, I'm not here to get him kicked out of school or anything. I want him to learn. And I wanted him to learn from that
Yeah.
mistake. And we had a very good conversation about it. And I feel very good about him now going out into the world. He's not going to do that again. He knows because he had that opportunity in my environment and we dealt with it.
So true.
Exactly. What a gift for him to stumble upon that in a safe environment
Hmm.
with you as his faculty member versus other places with other faculty members, other university presidents, or, partners, clients, etc. And then that poor lawyer from who submitted that briefing has never lived it down. And that
Right.
was like, I don't know, 18 months ago.
Right.
You don't want to be that guy again.
And that's what I told my student. I don't want to see your name in the headlines. I'd rather have this here where we can talk about it in private. I
Yes.
never want to see one of my students' names in a headline for something related to an AI mistake. That's for sure.
I wish I wish so many more institutions had this approach, and I think that people eventually will,
Hmm.
but, a lot of time is gonna go by and a lot of hand-wringing in the process, so I wish everyone could just fast forward to, "Here's what's working right now." Um, I wanted to talk a little bit about ChatGPT 5 since it is such a hot topic, but what I wanted to explore, rather than talking about in granular detail at least, the pros and cons or the differences between ChatGPT 4 and being able to pick your own model of the, 9, 12, 87 models, not necessarily about how performative you're seeing it yet, but I would be interested in hearing that. But can we talk a little bit about the mindset around when there's change? When there's change with the tools that we're leaning on that have become our collaborators, our co-authors, our friends, and everything is dialed in exactly how we want it. And then one day, Sam Altman decides not only are we going to introduce a new model, we're going to take away the one that you've been really enjoying, that you've found really performant. And we're not going to ask you. We're just going to do it overnight and kind of let the chips fall where they may. I'd love to hear from you how you've approached a major change like this, and maybe what you would advise people who are feeling a little bereft, some grief, feeling destabilized this week because of the change. And I'll kick it over to Rachel first.
I had a philosophy right around March, where when some change came down, that I would give myself just a few minutes to see what I would think. And I found that I don't like to be involved in that part of it anymore. And most of that is because I have businesses that are all functioning under different ways of using these things. And so while I didn't love not being able to go back to a version at first, I'm very thankful that it was there. But I think it talks more to the culture of how much we don't know. We and just throwing something on there and creating a response to that is very informative, right? And our reaction to that, our energy to that. And so for me, I think it's really something that is creating a lot of chaos that doesn't have to, and that there could be a lot of focus. But I appreciate the turn that went backwards quickly so that we could check all of the different selections. But other than that, Anne, I have not dug any deeper, simply because these changes, because of the way they've been implemented, myself to get super excited about it. And I watch and I read and I learn, and then I dedicate time. What I want to do and test these things is, well, if I'm going to test something, it's going to need to be used in how I go to market or what I'm doing before I'm going to spend that time. So I've gotten away from blocking off 4 hours of learning in my calendar to maybe making it 2 hours, but then taking that 2 hours and reapplying it. And so I find that to be very helpful. It allows me to control the change that I want to make and what's good for me, not what's being pushed on me. And for my clients, that works as well.
Love that. Love that. How about you, Anne?
Well, I like GPT-5, so I didn't have that give me GPT-4 back reaction. But a lot of what I do, being a patent attorney, involves highly complex science and technical information. So I wasn't using GPT-4o that much. I was using the reasoning models already. And now, to go up to a more powerful reasoning model, for me, that's been fantastic. The only spot where I've felt it, and I just had this happen a couple of days ago, was some of my custom GPTs that were obviously built on 4.0 didn't give me the result that I expected at all. And so I had to go back and really revise those instructions and do some rework to get it to work with 5. But, I work a lot with operations and law firm processes, and I think it's a great example that anytime you make a change, you bring technology in, you change a technology, there's going to be unintended things that are affected by it that you don't even think about. And I think, for me, that was some of these custom GPTs. I just pulled one up one day, was going to do something with it, assumed it would work, and it gave me this really bizarre answer. And, I know why. I know it's because the technology changed, but I hadn't really thought about the impact it was going to have on some of these sort of auxiliary tools that I use. And I just think it's a good lesson for any kind of process change in an organization. When, you drop in a change or a new technology, you got to look at all the things that are affected by that technology and allow time for testing and, updating or whatever you need to do. And, I think this is a good example of that.
Mm-hmm. I think that's so important to keep in mind that we may be doing something that's just, I mean, we are hitting all of our marks. It is going great. Our bosses are thrilled. Our board is excited. They're actually reading the memos finally, or they're listening. I've now gone to some of my boards they get podcasts from Notebook LM because I was sick of them not reading the reports. So, but say you had an impact report that was going out right now, you would have to, and you'd been using 4 or 3 to help you with that. You have to be able to dance a little bit. You have to be able to call upon what I think is one of the most important skills we have going forward, which is adaptability, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Adaptability is kind of like
Agreed.
when we say, I really love change. It's like, it's so cool to say I love change. And then when you get into change, it requires so much empathy for yourself. And it requires this level of adaptability that, I mean, in many ways, we've been successful by creating systems that work on repeat, right? And we lean on those, and that's our calling card. And then all of a sudden, overnight, we're kind of like, this is quirky. This is weird. I'm not getting what I need. And then you go over on X and see that everybody is having a meltdown. And then you see that ChatGPT, that Sam Altman gave us our goodies back. Did you have something? Did someone have something else?
Yeah, and I think too, it's also accepting. It's accepting that this isn't new. Just has how it's been released. It's happened. The releases have been very, very quickly, and we don't know what we don't know. So there's a little bit of grace that we have to give ourselves. And I think it's really important when you make the decision where you don't have 100% of the line of sight on anything,
right,
that you understand that it's going to change on you, and it's super frustrating when it does. But if you've expected and you've designed your processes behind what you're authentically trying to achieve, to Anne's point earlier, the quality of your work is dependent upon you are the last person to touch it. Yeah. So it's you have to go in with a mindset of, this is going to change on us, and what can we do when it does that's going to positively affect us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Good, bad, otherwise, right? But it would affect your first draft of the report that you've been doing again and again and again. Now you need a little bit more time. Yes. Like Rachel's approach of, maybe before setting aside 4 hours to dig around, to, do some edge cases, to play a little bit. Mm-hmm. I have taken the same approach you are, Rachel, which is I might dink around at the end of the day while I'm, watching Law and Order SVU, as one does. Season 25 is amazing. But I don't set out in the morning to just play. And Kyle, I don't know if he's still here in the comments, but Kyle Shannon gives me a hard time because play first is one of the top values in the AI salon, and play doesn't do it for me. So I mostly pad the time that I'm spending on regular use cases and just give myself, I know it's going to take a little longer. I'm going to dink around the edges of this one and see what I uncover. My ChatGPT triumph, and one of those examples of, you have to be careful how much you're willing to go along for the ride. Like, I can get really excited because something like when Manus, oh my God, Manus changed my life. And I was like, I was staying up. I've never stayed up all the way through the night. I was staying up all the way through the night with Manus. We can't do that every time we discover a new tool that we like. So this time around, I'm just kind of taking it a little bit easier, but I want to share a use case that I think demonstrates some of the potential that ChatGPT 5 has for us in our workflows, which is, I've been working I always have one pro bono client, and I shared what they do with Rachel the other day. They build ramps for senior citizens who would otherwise not, without a ramp, they would not be able to stay in their home. The organization does doorway to doorway pick up and drop off, so they're able to escort people from their homes down the ramp, in the car, all the way to walking through the doors of the doctor's office or whatever. So really important cause, fully staffed by volunteers. So when you think about how to fundraise for it, it's a little bit of it's a little bit of a conundrum. And I don't know why I could not get to my solution of what is the campaign going to be. It was like, we can't just ask for pay my paycheck for the executive director, but we can't ask for money for things that are already being accomplished by volunteers. It was like a really fine needle that we had to thread. Sorry for all the backstory, but it'll make sense. So my client and I were on a call, and the assignment, her homework assignment had been, figure out what you want to fundraise for. And we've been at this for like 3 months. And she arrives and she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, neither do I. But while she was talking about it, I just didn't even pay attention. And here's where I think the magic was. I wasn't even paying attention to the typing. I was just typing as well as I can without looking at the keyboard. And then I did look aside to cut and paste into ChatGPT 5, and I put like a 5-word prompt at the beginning. And what it gave me, again, it has all the memory, and all that stuff about me, but its ability to read between the lines is what mattered. I didn't prescribe it. It did its own thing with what I put in there, and we got our answer. Finally, we were like jumping for joy. It gave us the answer. And I do think it was because I had been really prescriptive, using very thorough prompts in 4 or 3, and just was like, just telling me stuff that I already knew. This one, it kind of went creative a little bit on me, and it just, a dream. So anyway, but of course there are the things that we're going to miss from our models as we go along. So, okay, let me ask you about, there's 2 I really love. I'm going to ask you first about, what's the single most important trend in your subject matter expertise that you're seeing in AI? And I know, like Rachel, you are a multi-passionate, multi-hyphenated professional. You have many zones of genius. So choose one and share what's an AI trend that you're paying attention to from your vantage point.
I really, really like the streamlining of automation steps for social media, as well as on website FAQs, chatbots. I'm really interested how we can craft and create more meaningful interaction on our websites with our customers as they come in. And the funnel is interesting to me, but more so on the experience when you come in. I think my work with Connecting Grace and Gratitude kind of drove that focus, and that, and helping people find what they're looking for. So I'm going to double it because, and on my side of things is I really like the interaction of customers on websites, specifically in the small businesses. It's attainable, it's achievable, it's personable, it's local, and it's important for small businesses if you have traffic there. The other side of that coin is driving traffic. So the balance of those two is, I'm highly interested that is functional, doesn't lose the tone, and being really focused on that.
So one of the things you shared is that, it's awesome if people are at the website using the chatbot, et cetera. How do you talk to the small business owners about using AI to help them drive traffic to wherever it is. Is it the
Mhm.
website? Is it their social? Is it, I don't know.
Sure.
Is it whatever?
Yeah, I'll give a good one. There's two. There's a canine organization that has a very, very large following. They have a wonderful story. They're located in Michigan. Dock diving, canine dock diving is huge in Michigan, but they're also known for many other things. And so when we started doing research on their websites and taking a look at where their existing customers were, we compiled that using a number of tools. We used Manus, did some demographic searches, we used a lot of tools. But we came back to saying, people generate a phone call when they're coming to your website, which is generating a lot of questions where I think you can interact with them and ask them more intuitive questions through the chatbot, and then perhaps get more direct access to the right part of your organization. So to do that, we used we used Potato, we used scripting, we used a number of different tools then to be able to start pushing their content. That now will be automated and be the next phase of it, where they'll be able to have this consistent message in social media, which they couldn't have time to do before. And it's been really tied back to the history of what people are coming to find out more about their business. So now they can be tied together.
I love it. So good. So good. Making everything work together is a gift.
It's getting everything it's about translating. It's really translating how all the tools work back to your customer.
Yep.
Everyone has a different language of their business,
Absolutely.
and it's how do we translate it?
And how about you? What are some of the trends that you're paying attention to from your zone of genius, which could include being a farmer, potentially?
Yeah, I haven't applied AI to managing the goats yet, but so the thing that I'm seeing,
Ooh, Rachel's got something.
the thing that I'm seeing with attorneys, most attorneys, and I'm speaking primarily in my field, which is intellectual property, most attorneys are focused on using AI for like the heavy duty, big client projects, like writing large parts of a patent application. And they're looking for like the magic tool and that will do this. And it doesn't exist, but that's what they're all in search of. And they're investing in very, very expensive tools for this. And that's a trend. I'm seeing a lot of attorneys starting to do that. But there's a very small number of very forward-thinking law firms who are starting to recognize the value of AI as an everyday productivity tool, not just this thing that can do the big project for the client, but as an everyday productivity tool. And instead of looking for that magic bullet that just serves the attorneys and the clients, they're applying AI to smaller, more personal, firm-wide workflows. And in that case, they are more efficient than if you're just looking for that magic bullet for that one client project. And although that's not the trend yet, that's the shift that I think needs to happen. I think we need to move away from this trend of let's go apply it to the biggest project that we can and sit back and twiddle our thumbs while it does our work. And instead, you should be thinking about it and shifting your mindset to what's the stuff we do every day that takes so much time, and how can we integrate this into just our daily operations and have it benefit not just the attorneys doing the big projects, but all the staff in the firm too, because most firms, there's as many staff as there are attorneys. And if you're just looking for a tool that's going to benefit your attorneys, you're overlooking all of your staff and they're not getting the benefit of it. And that's where so much of the, administrative, repetitive, lower complexity work is happening. And so much of that could be shifted so that your staff can move up to higher value work. So that's the trend that I would like to see happening. I don't
Yeah.
call it a trend yet, but I am starting to see some forward-thinking firms that are starting to get that, and I
Yeah.
preach that to everybody I talk to. So that's what I see going on in at least in the intellectual property part of
I
the
love it.
legal field.
So good. So good. So I was in a conversation yesterday with an AI consultant who would be interested in working with our certified AI educators with their clients, and I'm all for that and exploring the possibility. But one of the things that he is interested in doing is like offering some very complicated um, like AI workflows that are client
Mhm.
facing. And if you like think about the 80/20 rule, like the lift that you're going to get from training inside the organization and setting up tools inside the organization, it almost to me, if you haven't done that, you don't get the other goodies because it
Mhm.
doesn't make sense because then you're just doing AI on broken systems potentially. So
Right.
yeah, and I feel like it's like the top, there's like 5 to 7 use cases that every organization, if they implemented the, AI, they'd all be functioning much better and having spaciousness or being able to explore growth opportunities. But I think the noise that they hear and difficulty of distinguishing noise from signal gets them
Mhm.
thinking about these very, like, elaborate, fancy things, and when in fact, it's mostly boring,
Yes.
repetitive, the same SOP over and over again, organization to
Right.
organization. It's not sexy, it's
Yes.
super boring, and it might be,
Right.
you have to go over there and get your data fixed up before I can even talk to you, you know?
Absolutely. Yep.
People want the sexy stuff, though, so
Yep,
Um,
yep, and right now they're throwing money. They're throwing a lot
they're
of
throwing
money at
money.
some of these tools as well, and I think it's really important to step back and evaluate if you're getting the value from those or not,
Yes.
and
Yep.
then think about, all right, where can AI really make a difference? And it might not be where you first thought.
Right. Right. And how are these bumping up against any existing policies like a data security
Hmm.
and privacy policy
Yes.
you may already have pre-generative AI,
Hmm.
era? And then what new policies do you need to create for each of these new business, operations or even if they're not brand new, the tweaks, right, along the way.
Right.
What risk are we now exposing ourselves to? And one of the things that I found is that it's very hard to talk to clients about data privacy or governance and policies when they want the shiny, sexy, flashy gizmo.
Right.
And
Right.
so we so for at first we were like, we're not taking anyone who doesn't want to pay right up front for, governance and policy and all that kind of stuff. Well, nobody wants to do that. So we said, okay,
No.
we will get over our stubborn principles and we will let people hire us for training. But in the training, we're going to start the governance and policies and then we'll do the rest later. And it has worked out much better. Um,
Well,
it was,
and
yeah.
what I do with that, because I find the same thing. Attorneys have a lot of ethical obligations and things that they need to think through with respect to AI, and but nobody wants to talk about that on day one. So if I'm doing a training series and I've set out maybe a 5 module set of trainings for a law firm, I'll put the governance and that part on maybe the 4th module. And I think that
Mhm.
helps a lot because if they don't appreciate what AI can do and the risks, the governance discussion doesn't mean a lot to them. But if
Yeah.
they've gotten in and they've seen the capabilities of the tools and the limitations of the tools, then it's a little easier to have that discussion with them about your policies and your governance and all of those things. Then they're ready to hear it. And so I think,
Yeah.
from the standpoint of training and education within an organization, you know, telling them up front, Absolutely. You got to make sure you're checking, AI can make mistakes. Like you can't not tell them that. But the
Mm-hmm.
deeper discussion of what's the organization's policy going to be, how are you going to handle governance? I think that works better after they've been immersed in it and they can really think about what that means and what these policies are that they're developing.
I so agree. Rachel, do you have any thoughts to layer on top of that?
I agree as well, and I find that there's a layer of the fear
Mhm.
of the executives of not knowing and not being able to just acknowledge. I know that's where we want to go, but I'm not. That's being okay not to know how you're doing it is kind of the point. I think everywhere we've talked about today, it's all new. It's all white space. And to Anne's point, I agree completely that having a knowledge experience of any kind, conversation, and meet people where they are to
Yes.
start the conversation of governance and things like that. We can't assume that we're going to be taken care of. We don't know what the technology is doing all the way yet. There's so many
Yeah.
new things to look at,
Yeah.
right? Let's be thoughtful,
Yeah.
but we can do those things quickly if you address the fears first. If
Mhm.
you keep coming up against the fears, you're going to continue to circle around in that implementation, in the training, in those things. So acknowledging it and being very upfront that it's normal to be
Yeah.
really concerned, not concerned, somewhere in the
Mhm.
middle. Everyone is on that
Yes.
spectrum before you interact with the tools.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So along those lines, one of the things that has been it's taken me a little while to understand is the amount of buyer education that goes on because AI, it's like there's so much baggage, right? Because of is it underhyped? Is it overhyped? Who knows, right? We don't know. So certainly our clients or prospective clients don't know. So the education in the buying cycle is different now. And one of the ways that
Yes.
that has one of the things that has helped me so much is offering to coach the C-suite team over here on the side by themselves, even one-on-one with an executive director, so that especially the people who are involved with like, procurement, if they don't know how to use it because they don't have the same jobs that everybody else has where there's boots on the ground necessarily, some, but not all, and the way that way they're surrounded a lot of times in companies or organizations, they don't use AI the same way we do. Taking them over here, doing the training privately so that they can come back and lead conversations a little bit and have that familiarity. That's been really fun, and I really, really have enjoyed that work. So that's one of the ways that I've kind of gotten through it. Um, okay, so first, I want to take a little break and explain to people the QR code on your screen. If you point your camera at it and a link will pop up and you'll press that and you'll be on the Create Conference website. So if you want to learn more about it, who our speakers are, like Anne and Rachel and some of our folks in the comments, um, learn about what what kind of cool stuff we're going to do. For example, we're having a sound bath. We have some really cool pre-conference programs, monetizing your AI expertise. I'm doing a Foundations for Beginners, and Kate Key Sodi from Microsoft is doing well, we don't know. It's a build-a-thon, but who knows by October what we'll be able to build. Today it would be vibe coding probably, but who knows, right? So check that out. And kind of to land the plane here, let's go with hmm, how about an actionable takeaway? What's one mindset shift, process tip, or cultural practice you'd leave with the audience? One little takeaway. Rachel.
I'm going to start writing down what's working.
Ooh.
Start writing down what's working. Knowing where you are starting, knowing where your strengths are, knowing what's working, and remembering that grounded in reality.
Love that.
As you go through change, as I go through change, I don't know what's going to be in front of me. So I find that taking that inventory, even I do it daily. I do it daily of what's working today, what's working today.
Ooh,
Because remembering that through change, when things stop working, we inherently are going to focus on what doesn't. So having the muscle memory to go what works, where home base is, where focus can come into will keep you grounded and as you move through the change and all the wonderful opportunities in front of us.
I love the emphasis on what is working. That's good. Total reframe. And how about you? What's the takeaway?
Yeah, mine is you always have to look at the process. And so I'm going to generalize a quote from one of my favorite people, Ginny Rometty. If you don't know who Ginny is, she was the former chairman and CEO of IBM. Really cool woman. Started with IBM as an engineer right out of college, worked her way all the way up to chairman and CEO. And this is prior to Gen AI. I think this was probably around 2019. In an interview, she was asked why AI, excuse me, why AI implementations fail. And I'm paraphrasing this a little bit, but her response was most AI solutions fail because the process, not most fail, but the ones that do fail, most of the time when an AI solution fails, it's because the process didn't change. You have to look at the process around the AI in order for that to be successful. And my way of saying that is you can't just drop technology in the middle of a manual workflow and
Yes.
expect everything to magically transform overnight. It doesn't work that way. You
Doesn't
have
work
to
that
look at
way.
what's upstream of the AI and what's downstream of the AI and look at the process as a whole to be successful. And I think that any implementation of an AI tool really has to be done thoughtfully and by looking at more than just what the task is that you're applying the tool to, but what is that bigger process that is going to be a part of, and adapting the process. And for attorneys, what that usually means is it's changing, for example, the way you write. It's not necessarily like this some fancy multi-step process. For attorneys, the writing a patent application is a process. It's something
Yeah.
that takes multiple days. There's different sections to it. There's different things you do in each section. And so to effectively get the benefit of an AI tool in that process, it means changing the way you approach writing a 20 or 30 page document
Mhm.
and thinking about that as your process. So you really have to, the takeaway that I want everybody to get here is it's more than just going out and getting a tool. It's looking at the process and adapting that process so that it works well with the tool that you're bringing in, whatever
Yeah.
that tool is, whether it's one of these really super expensive ones or it's a $30 a month ChatGPT, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you got to look at the process around that AI tool.
Yeah. Well, I'll add kind of a little cherry on top of that, which is that as you're looking at the process piece of it, you're going to uncover a lot of people related
Mm-hmm.
um,
Oh, yeah,
discoveries, right? So,
absolutely. Yeah.
and that's going to be a serious consideration. A couple of anecdotes. One of my clients, we left the meeting, and the IT guy circled back, and he said, "I'm not ready to talk to my bosses about this, but here's the situation. I am morally opposed to AI," and
Oh,
he was in
wow.
charge of the rollout.
Wow.
So we have detractors. What are we going to do with them? We have ambivalent people. What are we going to do with them? And how are we going to not like over index our AI champions and give them a whole second job just because they are the go to people, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then we're going to run into things like something that gets automated takes away a task that someone maybe it's beneath their skill set, but it gave them access to information, access to people. It gave them a reason to check in with all their colleagues. I think about meeting note takers, replacing the people who took the notes. The people who took the notes have a lot of power. They're in charge. First of all, they're in charge of what actually gets recorded. And that goes through their filters first. Now, all of a sudden, there's like this objective kind of reveal of what really happened in the meeting. So I think the people issues kind of surface when we look at the process issues, and we can't do any of this without the human beings being factored in. So, and in particular, the human beings who are going to actually use the technology.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. So, all right. Any words to put a bow on this, you two? We've covered a lot of territory. It was fun. Thoughts? Good. All right. How can people get a hold of you?
Thank you.
Rachel, talk to the people about how they can get a hold of you, and then Anne, and then we will peace out and enjoy the rest of our days.
All right. Definitely can reach me at pausecommitrise.com or on LinkedIn. Happy to meet and get to know some people.
Awesome. Anne McCrackin, how about you? How can people get a hold of you?
For the opportunity.
Sure. Excuse me. You can reach me on my website. It's aienabledattorney.com. There's no hyphen in that. There's a contact me form you can fill out. I also have an email list if you want to get on my email list for announcements. And I won't spam you. I promise I don't send out a lot. And then the other simple way is LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. So just Anne McCrackin on LinkedIn, connect with me, reach out to me, DM me. But I love to talk about this stuff. And I both love to talk about AI, law firm operations, and legal education. So any three of those topics, I am more than happy to have a chat with anybody about, and would love to meet people who are interested in these same things.
Thank you all for being here in the comments. Thank you if you're chiming into the comments later. Anne and Rachel, thank you for sharing your wisdom so generously and for the opportunity to hang out with you this morning. I'm super grateful. And we'll see you again, everybody, for our next such event coming up next week. We will feature a few more of our Create speakers, so stay tuned for that. And everybody have a beautiful day. Thank you again for being here. We appreciate you so much. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.